Carly M. Dossman, our executive committee, board of directors, or more importantly, the over 125,000 young people that we serve on a day-to-day basis, I bring you greetings. This afternoon, we are going to have this session. And I want to remind you of something. Do you remember the good old days when our communities were responsible for every child? Every child on the block and around the corner. As the African proverb states, it takes a village to raise a child. In these critical times, in this era of change, it is important for our community, our villages, to return back to the days of old and concern ourselves with all young people, all of the youth in our community. Education is a civil rights issue of our day. And in this village-centered workshop, held in the heart of the urban Fort Lauderdale community, attendees will hear from two powerful but dynamic speakers. Participants will leave empowered with the awareness and knowledge needed to help protect all of the young people in our village. Before I turn it over to Mr. Scott Brown, who is the Director of Programs for Georgia Pacific Foundation, to introduce our guest speakers, I would like to thank our partners and our sponsors for today. I would like to thank Cox Enterprise, UPS, the 100 Black Men of Greater Fort Lauderdale, the Coca-Cola Company, the United Way, U.S. Army, Walgreens, Walmart, and a host of others. Ladies and gentlemen, give your attention to Mr. Scott Brown. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chairman, thank you. Grace and peace, family. It's an honor to be here. I won't belabor the point. Time is getting short, and I want to respect Ms. Fulton's time, but it is indeed a blessing to be here with you. It is an honor, ma'am, to be in your presence. I had the opportunity of driving over with Brother Steele, Dr. Steele, and he is charged up. Rest assured, he has a timely message for us this afternoon. So thank you for coming out, community, and supporting this. I think it's extremely important. Ms. Sabrina Fulton is dedicating her life to transforming family tragedy into social change. Since the death of her 17-year-old son, Trayvon Martin, during the violent confrontation in 2012, Fulton has become an inspiring spokesperson for parents and concerned citizens across the country. Publicity surrounding Trayvon's death and the ensuing trial catapulted the county into national debate. Despite the intense struggle of losing a child, Ms. Fulton has become a role model to many by turning her grief into advocacy. Remaining strong throughout the trial and the ensuing months, she lends her voice to speak against violence towards children and the need to build better, safer communities for all. Her message not only appeals to people's hearts as it relates to children, but it is also one of hope and change, exemplified by her personal experiences and endeavors. As a mother, she inspires audiences to continuously educate their children about civil rights and to help them feel accepted as part of an ever-changing society. An honest and relatable person, Fulton always looks forward to sharing her powerful message with everyone from colleges and legal professionals to community and family organizations and all other proponents of social justice. As a Miami native, Fulton graduated from Florida Memorial University, where she earned her bachelor's degree in English. A proud mother, Fulton worked for the Miami-Dade County Housing Development Agency for over 25 years and is a member of Antioch Missionary Baptist Church of Miami Gardens. Family, please welcome Ms. Fulton.
We're currently having an event right now as I speak in Miami But it was important that not only that we speak in Miami and we represent Miami, but Broward County as well. Because a lot of times when people do and organizations do things in Dade, they leave out Broward. And sometimes when organizations do things in Broward, they leave out Dade. So it's important that, because all communities need help. All our children need help. And all our children are important. And one of the things that I want to talk about today is for us to make sure that our children are safe. That when your child leaves your house, that you can be assured that your child will come back in a safe manner. Because it's very difficult, I'm sure, for you to even think about if your child left home and did not come back to you in a safe manner. Just imagine that just for one moment, that your child left going to the store, and because of some unforeseeable event, some unforeseeable event, not because of something that they did or something that they said, but because of another person, they were not able to return to you in a safe manner. Just imagine that. Trust me, those are not a pair of shoes you will want to wear. That would be the worst position in life. That would be the worst position to imagine. Because we've all had deaths in our family, right? How many of you had a death in your family? Yeah, we have deaths in our family. So we know how to deal with the death of a grandmother, grandfather, maybe a mother, maybe a father. But how many of you had to deal with the death of a child? And then the death of a minor child that was not sick. So that's just something that I want to put on your plate to deal with as adults. And then I want to speak to my young people. If you under 21, raise your hand. We are fighting, and I want, keep your hand up, and I want the adults to look around. We are fighting for you. We fuss a lot, we stay on you a lot, but we are fighting for you. It's important, put your hands down. It's important that you guys have a positive and bright future. It's important to me that you have a positive and bright future. Because some of the things that I didn't get a chance to see in Trayvon, I will get a chance to see in you. Case in point, Rachel Gentile, which was on the phone with Trayvon at the time. And many of you know that when you are a teenager and you're on the phone, you are not paying attention to what's around you. And I'm not going to make an excuse for a 17-year-old. He was 17. And I'm not going to justify his behavior for being on the phone and for not paying attention. I can't justify his behavior. He is still my child, and I'm going to still defend him. So he was on the phone, walking home from the store, not paying attention. And we've all, know teenagers, if we haven't done it ourselves, we all know teenagers that's on the phone that's not paying attention. But how do we justify what happened? How do we prevent what happened from happening again to another child? How do we do that? People ask me all the time, because I have another son, Javaris, and I want to make sure that he's safe. And I'm a little overprotective because of what happened with Trayvon. It's understandable. But we have to be more mindful of other people sometimes. We have to be mindful that there is racial profiling. We have to be mindful that there is a stand your ground law in Florida. We have to be mindful that although we may see our teenagers a certain way, other people may not see them that way. One of the things that I thought about was the hoodie. I said to myself when this first happened, maybe it was the hoodie that caused his death. And as I sat in the airport one day leaving Anderson Cooper's show, Anderson Cooper put something in my mind. And what he told me was that, he says, I'm a white guy. He said, and I wear a hoodie to work every day. And no one sees me as being suspicious. He planted that seed. And as I sat in the airport leaving New York to go home, I thought about it. And I looked around the airport and I seen men, women, blacks, whites, young people, old people, they had on hoodies. And I thought to myself, well, why don't they look suspicious? And then I thought about the time. I said, well, maybe they thought because it was late at night, or maybe that was dark, that it was, you know, a different time and that Trayvon was someone else. That's not even it. That's not even it. Trayvon got killed at 7:17, which means he went to the store about 6-something. It's not even dark during 6-something. So I just thought about just all of these different things that may have happened, that may not have happened. And there's no justification. We even, and this is a touchy subject for me, we even kill our own kind, our own people. And that has to stop.
That's right.
We can't continue to complain about other people, and we're doing something right in our own neighborhoods. How many of our young people have to die and we bury, and we get those shirts with their pictures on them before we decide enough is enough? Because a lot of people, like myself, and probably like many of you that are here, are sick and tired of burying our teenagers and our young people. How many of you sick and tired of just seeing it on the news and just hearing about it and going to funerals and just, I mean, the news is just bad news. They need to call it bad news. They need to say the bad news, because that's what it is.
That's right.
And how many times are we going to have to see our young people buried? Those are our next teachers and our next doctors and our next lawyers and maybe our next president. And we can't continue to feel like it's okay. Like another group need to help those people.
Yeah.
These are our people. This is our community. And it's important that we stand together as a community. And we do things as a community. And that's why I felt that it was so important for me to be here to speak to you, because I'm part of the community. A lot of people think that because Florida has this issue with stand your ground and racial profiling, that we should leave. But if we leave, the problem will be somewhere else.
That's right.
And we have not resolved the problem because we've left. So guess what? What can we do to resolve the problem? One of the things we can do is make sure that we are registered voters and that the people that are in our circle are registered voters, and the people that we in contact with on Facebook and Twitter are registered voters, because the key is to be able to change the laws, and you can't change the laws if you're not a registered voter. You can't vote on the laws if you're not a registered voter. You can't oppose someone's thinking if you are not a registered voter. So these elected officials that prop their head up in our church every now and then, when they getting ready to get elected, when they need something from the community, those are the ones that need to be here to these events.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Those are the ones that need to support our young people, need to support our schools, and need to support education. Those are the people that we need to be in contact with and we need to be connected with. Those are the people. Not only when it's election time should they come out and do some event and you see their face and they need your vote, and then they're gone. No, those people, those elected officials, you need to remain connected with during their term in office. And if they're not doing anything in their office, you need to call their office. You need to write letters. You need to complain. That those people, those are the people that are supposed to support your ideas and your issues and handle things in your community. So we have to make sure that we are holding our elected officials accountable for the office that they held. For the seat that they're sitting in, we need to make sure they're accountable. Okay? So we talked about the elections, you know, and making sure you're a registered voter and making sure that you go out and vote. And then something that's a little more personal to me is when you're a registered voter, when you get that summons in the mail that say you need to report for jury duty, please don't find an excuse. We need you. That was part of our problem. We had a lot of people that they sent those letters out, but because it's something about jury duty that people think is ugly, is nasty, it's a waste of time, they don't want to do it. But we need you. We need you to sit on those panels. We need you to have an open mind, and we need you to come out when it's your time for jury duty. Because if everybody in the jury pool is looking like someone else, 9 times out of 10, your brother, cousin, sister, neighbor is going to jail. And they going to jail for a long time. And that's why it's important that you not ignore your responsibility to go to jury duty. Sometimes we forget that people fought for our right to vote. And now, since we didn't have to fight for it, we're a little more relaxed in our right, in our responsibility to vote. Every now and then, you need to turn on the TV and look at the history for voters' rights. And just remind yourself the way that people had to pave in order to get where we are now. And it will give you a little more appreciation of what we need to do and the responsibility we have to not only register to vote and get our young people out register to vote, but to get out and vote and make a difference. Okay, so now we talked about that. We talked about our elected officials. So let me just tell you one last thing about the foundation, and then I'll take my seat. Of course, when this all happened with Trayvon, it was very disappointing for us. It was very sad for us, and we were very bitter on the inside. So we needed to do something to channel that negative energy. We reach out to other families that are victims of senseless gun violence. And we help those families in whatever area we can. We try to empower those families. We try to pray for those families. We try to offer financial assistance to those families if they need help with burial, if they need help with whatever funeral arrangements they need help with. We try to provide that to them through the Trayvon Martin Foundation. And then we have something what is called a Trayvon Martin Peace Walk and Peace Talk. We have that every year in February because we want our young people to know that they have a right to walk in peace. They have a right to walk without being profiled, without being followed and pursued and shot and killed. And that's why it's important for us to do the Trayvon Martin Peace Walk. The Peace Talk is a little more differently. The Peace Talk is different community leaders coming together, and they're talking to our young folks about being encouraged, about staying in school, about getting their education, and not just going to school, but actually graduating. And then the next level, what are you going to do? Are you going to go in the military? Are you going to go to college? Are you going to own your own business? Some of those things like that are what we talk about with the Trayvon Martin Peace Talk. And then this year was something special for me. What I did was I did a circle of mothers, and it was the weekend, it was in Miami, and it was the weekend after Mother's Day. And I brought together mothers from all over the United States. I had so many mothers that I had to put some people on the name for next year. I mean, it was just that overwhelming that I meet so many people by going to so many different places that I was thinking to myself, what could I do? And God laid that on my heart. He gave me a vision, and what he wanted me to do is he wanted me to bring other mothers together, and he wanted us to come together, and he wanted us to fellowship together, and he wanted us to, more importantly, heal together. And that's exactly what happened. Each and every mother that came out was a victim of senseless gun violence. And each and every mother lost a child and has an angel in heaven right now. And when people tell you, we know how you feel, you really don't. And you really don't want to know how we feel. But it was just a good moment for us to come together and bond together and to support each other. And Tracy is doing a similar event this weekend in Miami that I mentioned already. And then we're going to do another event in July or early August that will focus on our young people. And we'll advertise to make sure we get the Broward County community connected with the Dade County community. And we actually thinking about doing an event in Broward County where we're going to bring our young people out and we're going to talk about racial profiling. We're going to talk about senseless gun violence and stand your ground. And we're going to talk about self-esteem and conflict resolution and things like that, because we want you to be empowered. We want you to know what your rights are when the police stop you. We want you to be educated about those things. So we're going to have a forum that comes together, and it's going to be the Trayvon Martin Foundation that brings this together, and we're going to come out. We don't want somebody else telling you what it is that you may have to go through. So we're going to come out and we're going to talk about that with our young people. And hopefully whatever venue we have is packed, because this benefits the community. And only when a few people come out, you guys have to make sure, I see you guys back here, you have to make sure you bring a friend next time. You got some homeboys, right? Your homies. Where your homies? Next time, bring them with you. And so it's important that we do things in the community. And those just a few things that the Trayvon Martin Foundation is doing. I'm glad to be here. I'm overwhelmed. I'm just overwhelmed. But I like to come out and I like to talk to the kids and I like to see the kids. And thank you to the 100 black men for just staying positive in our kids' life and also in the community and just continuing your efforts. Thank you so much.
Before I introduce our next speaker, just feel led by the Spirit. Can we just have a moment of silence? If you just bow your heads, just a moment of silence for Trayvon. I should have done that in the very beginning. Thank you. Ms. Fulton, thank you for your strength, your grace, your dignity. What I'm hearing when you're saying, although you're mourning, you're still defending your son, you're still advocating, but what I feel is also happening, you've adopted our community, you've adopted our children, and so now you're equipping us with the knowledge we need. And for that, I just think that's, I don't have words, I can just say thank you for that, okay? Dr. Charles Steele, Jr., born in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, on August 3, 1946. Dr. Steele received his bachelor's degree from Global Evangelical Christian College and Seminary and holds honorary degrees from Stillman College and Mississippi Valley State University. Dr. Steele is the Chief Executive Officer and President Emeritus of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, which was co-founded by Dr. Martin Luther King. What is also noteworthy, Dr. Steele is in his second tour of duty with the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. He is the first to do that, and for that he should be applauded. Dr. Steele is a pioneer and civil rights leader who, in a world of prejudice, violence, poverty, and ignorance, is teaching and applying Dr. King's principles of nonviolence and conflict resolution. He is a fervent advocate for justice and fairness, a visionary always pushing for a new day and a new way. For 8 years, Dr. Steele served as a city councilman in Tuscaloosa, and in 1994, he was the first African American to be elected to the Alabama State Senate, and he went on to serve 2 terms after that. Dr. Steele is a passionate and innovative leader who raised more than $3 million for the SCLC's headquarters building in Atlanta, Georgia. Under his leadership, CSLC has experienced a rebirth and become a global organization. As such, he has become a tireless international ambassador, carrying the torch of the legacy of Dr. King and his message of nonviolent social change to millions around the world. Dr. Steele says being the CEO of SCLC isn't a job, but is his calling to bring peace, security, and hope to an afflicted people everywhere. Would you please join me in welcoming Dr. Steele?
Thank you so much, Mr. Brown. I promise you I'm not going to be that long because Ms. Fulton has touched my heart. She is somebody. One of my personal friends, Ms. Fulton, was Ms. Mamie Till Mobley, Emmett Till mama. I see so much of that in you. It was Ms. Mamie Till Mobley that started the modern day civil rights movement when Emmett was killed in Money, Mississippi. What you're doing is starting a new day movement, and we want you to know that we support you, we love you, and God has a special calling upon you because we need this. Too many folks in our society are so quiet. They don't care, really. I speak to many people throughout the world. Matter of fact, I'm leaving here going to Berlin, Germany again on Monday because the whole world is saying, where do we go from here with our future? They are looking to African Americans for leadership. We don't know how powerful we are. And what she is doing is setting the cadence for the whole world to view African Americans because we came out of slavery. And we survived. We survived. We are here. I talked to world leaders all over the world. Moscow, Russia. A few months ago, invited by Mikhail Gorbachev. He asked the question, Charles, where do we go from here? And by the way, thanks. I want to thank you. Thanks for President Barack Obama. Thank you. That's what he said. I went to kill Ukraine, where you hear all those problems. I was there prior to all of the conflicts that they are having. All over the world, Paris, France. I go on a regular basis. And they're looking to African Americans. And now they're looking for the leadership of Ms. Fulton, SCLC, and other organizations. Now that's the good news. They're looking to us. The bad news, we got folks leading us who really don't care about us. They really don't care. They hung up, and she said it in some kind of ways. They are hung up in their position. See, one thing about it, I'm not afraid to tell the truth because I'm on a mission. This is not a job. This is not a job for me. And I don't fool around scared folks who's afraid to tell the truth. I was in one particular state legislative setting. I spoke to a body of legislators. I'm in New York, I'm in New Jersey, I'm in Connecticut, not to mention all over the South. The last 2 weeks I've been on the East Coast. And there was a particular elected official who was white who called me and said, look, on the East Coast, we don't have nobody standing up for your people. He said they are elected. It's a conspiracy. This is a white elected official telling me this. It is a conspiracy to attack poor folks. You got the working poor, you got the poor and the poor. And I'm poor. And I asked a young man, what's the difference on Auburn Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia? He said, I got 1-0. I don't know where I'm going to sleep tonight. I don't know where my next meal is coming from. He said, but when you're poor and you're working poor, at least you know you're going to eat and have somewhere to lay your head for 30 days. We have a serious problem here. There's no more middle-class black folks. And the reason we have poor scores and the reason we don't do good on the academic level in our community is because of economics. We don't have the resources, and nobody's saying that. Black folks need access to capital, to money. I was just telling Pat and Scott on the way over. There's a study came out 2 weeks ago from George Mason University out of the Center of Global Policy. And it was talking about liquid wealth, which is like Scott said, cash flow. Like the $5 I got in my pocket here today. You get it. The money that grandmama put in the sugar jar, the money under the mattress, and also stocks and bonds. Not your house, not your property. What's the comparison between black folks, Hispanic, and white folks? I'll tell you. On the average of liquid wealth, we only have $25. $25. Hispanic, $100. What is it with white folks, Caucasian? $3,000 on average. Hello, somebody. Is that a problem? Is that a serious problem? Now let me go a step further because I'm not afraid. That's racism. We have a problem with racism in this country. And nobody wants to address it. I was at the Vatican 2 months ago. I was invited to the Vatican. And I was in Rome, Italy. And I was leaving the Vatican going to the airport. There happened to be a couple from Tampa, Florida. And there was a couple, black African-American couple from Nashville, Tennessee. They knew me, and we began to talk. They said, "Steele, what you doing here at the Vatican?" And I told them I was invited. And we get ready to do a Poor People campaign with the Catholic Church, dealing with a whole lot of folks all over the world. That's what Dr. King was about, representing the poor. So the lady asked him, said, "Is it okay if I talk to him? Because he's in Dr. King's position." They said, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure Steele will talk to anybody." I went over there from Tampa, Florida. She said, "Sir, let me tell you, this is my husband. We're from Tampa, Florida. Let me tell you about my folks, my so-called friends. They hate y'all. They don't know that I support President Barack Obama. They don't know that we support good causes." She said, "They're smiling in your faces and they're stabbing you in the back. Subliminally, subconsciously, it's a conspiracy against y'all to turn back the clock." Did you hear Ms. Fulton talking about the 1965 Voter Rights Act? Well, I'm from Alabama. I know about that stuff. I marched all my life. Do you know what happened to the 1965 Voter Rights Act that we used to have? We don't have it no more. It's racism that's bringing about the lack of hope within our society. You can have faith, and our young folks don't have no hope. They are destined to kill one another. They are destined to fail because they don't see no way out, and they're going to destroy the first thing to them or next to them. Faith without hope would not work. I just discovered as a young man years ago what my grandmama was talking about. I was telling Scott what my grandmama was saying. She said, "Charles, go next door and tell Carrie to give me a cup of sugar and put some lard on it and 3 pieces of light bread. Tell her I need some hope." I said, "Grandmama, you want some help?" "Shut up, boy, I know what I want. I want some hope. Tell her to hope me." You have to give people hope. And collectively, we are not doing that because we don't care about each other. We don't care about one another. So when the other people realize, in terms of the fact that we have a problem in getting along with each other and helping each other, they think we don't care because it's all about love. Now, racism is something we must attack if you care. Now, the answer is this. First of all, you must turn to God. You must turn to God. Don't nobody talk about God no more because they think they're so educated. Hello, somebody. They think they educated. Young folks, the world is educated. But if you forget where you come from, you educated. They think because they go to school and they think that they are different than others, they become classists. See, Dr. King fought racism and classism. Within the black community, we have people when they reach a certain level, they don't care about the rest of the folks. We're afraid to talk about that. Well, I'm not. I'm not afraid of it. I fight classism just as bad as I fight racism. They both are dangerous for our community. They both should be destroyed. So as I go to my seat, it's another situation I want to bring to your attention. Many of our great ills in society come out of the courtroom. A lot of racism and prejudice in the courtroom. When you get time, Google the name Edith Jones. Edith Jones. It'll pop up. In other words, what Edith Jones was saying, the best place for young black students and kids, African Americans, is to be incarcerated. She said the best place for Hispanic is to be incarcerated because even if they were on death row, they'd rather be on death row than to go back to Mexico. This lady has been nominated, a potential nomination for the U.S. Supreme Court. Come on now, talk to me. You allowing these type of people to serve us on these courts, and they care nothing about you. I was in Rome, Italy, just a couple of months ago. President Barack Obama spoke in Brussels, Belgium. I went to Vatican one day. He came the next day. I go back to my hotel room. I cut on BBC, British Broadcasting Company. And the announcer said, ladies and gentlemen, I must warn you, I'm getting ready to show you some negative images. And if you can't take negative images, cut your TV off or change the channel. Then he said, here's the image. President Barack Obama had an 8 face with a suit and tie on. Front page, Brussels, Belgium. The First Lady, our First Lady, Michelle Obama, of 8 face. They both was on the front cover of the major newspaper in Brussels, Belgium. This is our President of the United States of America. If they think that much about President Barack Obama and his wife, what in the world you think they think about you? And it's just not here. It's all over the world. Racism is destroying our society again. We out here celebrating they eradicated. We celebrating. We got a black president. Oh, everything is just post-racial now. No more problems. You getting set back because of your celebration. You got to work. You got to march. You got to demonstrate. That's what got us over. You got to hit the street and stay in the street. And with the passing of Trayvon, we're going to take that bell on until I die. I promise you that, Miss Fulton. I promise you that. Now that the TV camera's gone, ain't nobody there, Charles still going to talk about it. I'm going to tell it all over the world because I'm not here for myself. I'm here for my grandchildren and these young babies sitting up in here and the babies to come. That's what we must protect. So thank you so much for having me. We must teach our young folks that Florida's all right. You live here, but you can go anywhere in the world and make a difference. It's a global society now. If you ain't talking about globalization, you need to sit down and shut up somewhere. Because this is a worldwide fight. And guess who they looking for leadership? African Americans. Because we came out of slavery and we still here and we ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. We are here to stay and we're going to stay fired up. This is my last point. I'm going over to, now let me tell you this about education. It's all over the way we used to know it. Poor folks can't get educated and going to college no more. There's another study that came out. I was at Clark Atlanta University talking to Dr. Brown last week. It was right there on his office desk. In 10 to 15 years, all of the colleges, 50% of all of the colleges and universities that you know, 50% are either going to be in bankruptcy or out of business. Education has outpriced itself, and we sitting around ain't doing nothing. Get your own school. Black folks got to educate their own children. Like Ms. Fulton would say, teach them about the law. Teach them about what's right and change the law. Doggone it, Dr. King did it. Wasn't no court that set us free. It was marching, demonstrating, lynching, going to jail. You got to do it again. Thank you so much. Godspeed upon you.